Hello dear students, this is Sushma Singh and you are watching Booster Classes. Today's video is especially for those students who are puzzled and nervous about their writing skills. Students, you need not to think about your writing skills because I'm going to help you out. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about how to write invitations and replies effectively using correct format and style that are very often confused or mixed up. Students, if you have not subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, hit the subscribe button right now and get benefited. First and foremost, let me tell you what is an invitation. An invitation is an act of inviting or the requesting of a person's company or participation at special events or celebration. It is a document written or printed or verbal. Let's now know how many types of invitations are there. Basically, there are two different types of invitations as you can see over here, formal invitation and informal invitation. Now, formal invitation can also be drafted in two different ways. You can either go for card format or letter format. Still, it is always better to write in the correct format. I know students generally have confusion regarding this. It's not at all confusing. All you have to keep in mind is that if you are inviting people for wedding, for birthday parties, any celebrations or any functions, you better go for card format. And if you are inviting people as a chief guest, as judges, as speakers, any specific person, you go for letter format. Whereas this confusion will not be there if you draft informal invitation, because informal invitations are always drafted in letter format. There's no way of confusion. Replying to invitations is essential. Indeed, it is essential courtesy to the host who has extended an invitation. And it also helps the host to know how many guests will turn up and so that host can make arrangements accordingly. Like the invitations, reply to invitations also can be of two types, formal and informal replies, and both the replies are either of acceptance or refusal. Now, as we have already discussed that formal invitations can be drafted both in card format or letter format. Same is the case with the reply also. And the same tips you are going to keep in mind, that if you have received invitation in card format, your reply should also be in card format. And if you have got invitation in letter format, that is specific persons is invited, then you should better go for letter format. And again, as the invitations, there is no confusion regarding the replies for the informal replies also, because just like informal invitations, informal replies are also always drafted in letter format. Coming to the format and content of invitations, some of the basic features to be noted before drafting any form of invitation in an effective manner are: firstly, we have already discussed that formal invitations are both in printed card form and letter form, whereas informal invitations are always drafted in letter format. Now, we know that formal invitations are written in third person and in simple present. No punctuation is required at the end of a line. As regards the informal invitations, they are drafted in first or second person. There can be mixed tenses as the sense demands. Card form is centrally aligned and letter form or formal invitation is left aligned. In both form, tone will be formal. Whereas informal invitation, as they are written always in letter form, so they are left aligned. You can use relaxed and informal tone. Now, the invitations, be it formal or informal answers the questions like who, what, when, where. That is, the name of the occasion, date, time, venue should be mentioned clearly. Both the invitations are written or drafted in 50 words, and you need to put the card form or formal invitation in a box which is not required for the letter form. Now, card form invitation includes the name and designation of the VIP invited to grace the function, which is not required for the letter form in the informal invitation. RSVP, which is a French phrase meaning respond please. Now, it is a formal, it is always written on bottom left along with the sender's name and phone number. RSVP is a very formal and courteous way to conclude an invitation. Whereas in informal invitation, as it is written in letter format, already we have discussed, it should have a salutation and a complimentary close. Now this is these are the main characteristics of invitations which you need to take care of. Here is the sample of a formal invitation in a card format, and we are going to discuss the do's and don'ts of this invitation. As a matter of fact, this invitation is laid out in such a way that each of the information is in a separate line. That is, first comes the name of the host, followed by name of the institution. Next, an expression of invitation has to be written properly. Over here, it is mentioned request the pleasure of your benign presence. In place of request, you can use the word invite, seek, even solicit. So any expression of invitation will do. Next comes the name of the occasion, which is inauguration of junior wing of the school over here, followed by date, time, venue. Now, already we have discussed that card form invitation includes the name and designation of the VIP invited to grace the occasion. So it also has to be clearly mentioned. Then at left bottom, RSVP, that is the contact detail, which is nothing but the contact detail which you will get from the question paper, and if it is not there, my dear students, you need to invent them. That is RSVP. I've already explained you, it's a French word or phrase which means please respond. So if anyone need to reply back, whom they are going to contact, so the name and the number at least will do. You try to invent if you don't get in the question paper. Now, finally, at extreme bottom, give one special instruction as shown over here. Kindly be seated by 2:30 p.m. or you can mention this card permits only 2 people. Any sort of special instruction has to be there. So, students, you all must have noticed that the subject matter of this invitation is centrally aligned. No punctuation is required at the end of a line. Now, this is how you are going to write or draft a simple yet elegant card form of invitation letter. Here is one more sample of formal invitation in card format. Just go through it so that you can get better ideas for drafting card form formal invitation. Look at the sample of a formal invitation in a letter form. You will find that the format of this invitation is very much the same as that of a formal letter. Just like any formal letter, this invitation has to be written in left alignment, and it should include sender's name, date, receiver's name, designation, as well as address, a proper subject line, salutation, and the content should answer questions like who, what, where, When, that is, the occasion, date, time, and venue should be clearly mentioned. A line regarding confirmation of presence is must for this kind of invitation. Then finally, you need to write the complimentary clause and sender's name and designation. Remember, student, this is a short composition and you have only 50 words. So write it very briefly, very precise, and the language should be very formal. Informal invitations follow the pattern of ordinary personal letters. Similar to an informal letter, this invitation also starts with sender's address, followed by date and a proper salutation. The style and the tone are relaxed and informal, and for the subject matter, that is the content, remember to answer important questions like who is hosting the event and who is being invited. Date, time, and venue of the celebration should be mentioned clearly. Don't forget to mention the reason of celebration also. So please go through the sample which has been put up over here for you. Now, receiving an invitation is always pleasant. However, not knowing how to respond an invitation can get us into trouble. So here are a few basic features of replies. Reply to a formal invitation is also formal, and same is the case with informal one. If you get informal invitation, your reply will be an informal one. Now, so if you have received an invitation card, your reply has to be in card format. And on receiving an invitation letter, you had better reply in letter format. Now, first and foremost, you acknowledge the invitation expressing your thanks. Next, acceptance or refusal has to be mentioned clearly. The reason for declining the invitation should be specified. Finally, confirm your participation or presence if you are accepting the invitation, and on declining, if you're declining the invitation, then don't forget to convey your best wishes. Now, be brief and specific while drafting even reply, because you need to adhere to the word limit of 50 words. So this is how you will respond with courtesy and kindness. Here is a sample reply to a formal invitation, and it's an acceptance in card form. So for this, students, you need to mention the date at the top left, and then keeping in mind the basic features which we have already discussed, acknowledge the invitation expressing your thanks, specify your acceptance, as well as confirm your presence for the same. This reply also has to be drafted in third person, use of present tense, and put it in a box, which we have already discussed all these basic features. Now, I would like to add on over here is that the date of reply should be well in advance of the event or celebration. You must have noticed that the date of reply over here is 1st of October, whereas the program, that is the debate competition, is on 5th October. So kindly take care of this. Don't be in a hurry and miss out this. Look at one more sample reply and learn how to reply an invitation formally. Now this reply is in a form of a letter. So adhere to the format of a formal letter, which we have already discussed and I'm not going to repeat. However, I would like to read out the content of this letter in order to make you understand how precisely all the basic features of the reply are taken care of. I have great pleasure in receiving the invitation to preside over the inter-school debate competition to be held on 5th October 2000, mention the year over year, at 10 a.m. in the school. Now, in this way, in the very first line, you can acknowledge the invitation as well as express your thanks. So the next basic feature, what we have discussed, you need to accept The acceptance has to be mentioned very clearly. So this way you can go, I feel privileged and honored to be invited. And finally, you need to confirm your presence for the same. So you can go ahead like this. I confirm my presence and will be arriving at stipulated time. No need of writing anything unnecessarily. There is no room for any unnecessary details. So please be specific and to the point. Now this letter will also conclude in the same way as a formal letter. I mean this reply. So you need to write the complimentary clause and the receiver. The name of the receiver. If any designation, you can better put that also. Go through this sample reply and you will learn how to decline an invitation formally. Just keep in mind that the reason of declining the invitation should be mentioned clearly and it should sound very genuine. This is a sample of formal declining in a letter form. Students, you simply go through it and get a fair idea how to draft a reply to an invitation, because already we have discussed the basic features as well as format of it. So simply go through it. Reply to an informal invitation is also informal and it will always be drafted in a letter form. So you need to stick to the format of an informal letter, which we have already discussed how to draft an informal invitation. Now the subject matter, that is the body, is the same as that of a formal reply. That is, firstly, you need to acknowledge the invitation, then express your thanks. A line of acceptance and confirmation should be mentioned clearly. So this is how you will draft a reply to an informal invitation. You can simply go through the sample which is placed over here. Go through the last sample of reply to an informal invitation. Even if you're declining the invitation, write it in the same degree of formality as the formal invitation. Hope you now know how to draft invitations and replies effectively. And yes, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for watching.